Hey, good morning, gang. Evan Rhodes here from What's Your Fuel. Thanks for joining me this morning. It is about 6:30 in the morning in Hawaii right now, and I'm up a little earlier than usual. Had a rough night sleeping last night. I have an injury, and so as I was laying there this morning in bed, I thought, you know what? I'm going to talk about injuries because they happen, and especially as we get older. I'm in my 50s now. They they happen more. Physical injuries tend to happen a little bit more frequently, and they take a little bit longer to get to recover from. So I wanted to start off and talk a little bit about physical injuries. There's many different kinds of injuries, right? There's physical, emotional, psychological, head injuries, things like that. Um, I think I said emotional. Haven't had my coffee yet or anything, but I wanted to start off with more the physical and the emotional side because, and even with that, jumping down that rabbit hole is going to take us down a deep one. And so I didn't want to go too specific, and I'm going to probably err more on the side of more physical injuries as we age and how to continue to lead a healthy life despite being injured and what kind of leads up to injuries. So, from my own experience, I've learned that my injuries usually happen as a result of a buildup of things or a series of mistakes, and I can even translate that over to like my emotional um, problems, relationship problems and things like that. So relationship problems that lead to emotional problems. So they usually end up occurring because I let things go too long. For example, if I feel like my body is starting to come apart, like I've been training for a couple of months pretty hard, and my shoulders are starting to feel like they're getting a little loose. And then I go into the gym for just a day, and I think, you know what, I'm just gonna kind of go moderate today, and I ended up putting on too much weight, for example, and then I ended up separating my shoulder or causing an injury, a shoulder injury, which is what happened just recently, which makes it hard to sleep. So here we are with a video. So the same thing goes true when I think about relationship problems or marital problems or things of that nature, where I let things get too far along before I actually addressed it. In other words, kind of like letting the monster get too big before I kill it. And we've talked about that in our team a little bit. And so having those tough conversations with that person, or on the physical side with myself, get some rest. There's no need to train so much. It's not about ego, which is another big reason why injuries happen. Coming from a jiu-jitsu world and some training in jiu-jitsu and stuff like that, ego is a big thing, man. I saw a quote recently that a guy said, it was something along the lines of, a guy said, white belts cause more injuries than bad intentioned black belts. Meaning, you wrestle or you go and you spar with a young white belt, they're just so erratic. There's so much ego. They're so tense. They do all these things that they'll end up making weird. You get these weird injuries rolling with them. Whereas I can roll hard with a pretty good black belt, and sure, if he wanted to, he could wreck me, but we can go pretty hard and no one gets injured. And so there's longevity, the training, which makes for a more enjoyable experience over time, which more experience, more training, so you can get better and more proficient through repetition. But as soon as there's an injury, everything stops. And a lot of times that has to do with ego. It can be with like training when you're too tired, bad nutrition, not enough rest, or a combination of all these things, which is kind of what was happening with me for this injury. I didn't listen to my intuition. This is a point for everyone out there. I felt like my body was coming apart, and I just kind of was eating bad lately, and not getting enough rest, and had a little bit too much ego, and boom, injury. The good side is that it could have been worse. It could have been much, much worse. And then it's like, okay, so well, how do I prevent injuries? Listen to your intuition. A lot of people will say listen to your body. I'll say listen to your intuition. The intuition is that little voice that's can be in your heart, can be in your gut. It's usually not too much in the head because that requires too much thinking, thought process. Our brains get in the way a lot of times. Listen to your intuition, and oftentimes what the intuition is telling you, or what it could be, some people might say that that's God talking to us. It's very, very subtle, very quiet at first. And then if that voice gets louder, the signal gets louder and louder and louder. By the time it's screaming, you're probably either injured or you're in a state where there's going to be problems, unless you either one, take care of it, or take care of it meaning go in a different direction. Decide to do something different. Address the problem immediately up front. See if it's a personal thing, like have a conversation with that person that's hopefully not confrontational, and that is a win-win oriented thing. But always keeping in mind, and this might sound kind of selfish, what's in it for you? What's in it for your best interest first, and win-win. Because it's win-win, win-lose, or you just walk away, right? And I read that, I forget what book it was, but it's true. Okay, so yeah, so it requires some reflection. So listen to your intuition. If you do get injured, then what? Reflect on what happened, and reflect not from an egotistical standpoint. I'm just speaking from my own experience, but just like, wow, what happened with that? You know, which led to my being in bed this morning thinking about it, like, man, what happened? So I wanted to put this out there, right? And then it's like, okay, this is what happened. I have a shoulder injury, or I got a divorce, or whatever, you know, coming back. It takes time. It takes time to come back from an injury. And depending on the severity of the injury, it might take a couple of days, a few days of rest. It might take a couple of weeks. It might take a couple of months. It might take a couple of years, you know, or longer. And the main thing is that we learn, overcome, and we do what we can. I spoke to a 94-year-old woman who is a friend of mine and the mom of one of my good friends. And I'll just say her name is Mrs. Newhart. And she does triathlons and stuff at her age. And so I saw her in the gym lifting. And I was like, Mrs. Newhart, you know, after our formalities, hey, how you doing? Long time no see. I asked her, like, how do you keep doing this? And she's kind of deaf, you know, she can't hear too good. And she's like, she's just keep on going. Like, do what you can. If you get injured, do what you can anyway. Don't get wrapped up in the sitting on the couch. I can't move. I'm too old. I can't do this. I can't do that. Because that will take us down a rabbit hole of being sedentary, not moving. The body will get stiffer, and so this is what she told me. The body will get stiff, and then they end up dying. So at her age, she doesn't have many friends around anymore. They're all dead. But she's out there still super active, super sharp, because she just kept moving. Okay, so bouncing back, right? Like I said. So learning, overcoming, reinventing yourself, doing what you can. So with this shoulder injury, a guy asked me yesterday, he goes, so what are you going to do? And I said, well, I'm gonna do what I can. I'm gonna probably train around it. My cardio I've been kind of lacking on, so I'll probably do a little bit more cardio. But nothing radical, you know. I'm gonna continue to ice and do my Advil regimen to kind of keep the inflammation down. And if it doesn't get better, then I'll go see a doctor, get a CAT scan done, and see. But that to me, doctors and CAT scans and stuff, unless it's something major, and I've had some major injuries. Unless they got to go in and do something invasive surgery, like if you got like major ACL or something like that that's torn, major shoulder reconstruction and stuff like that. I don't know. I just my thing with doctors is like, if I don't want to cause more trauma, if possible. And I've had a bunch of injuries with my shoulders, hands, feet, ankles, knees, spine, all kinds of stuff. So getting back to how do you bounce back? So keep on moving, do what you can. Get out of the mindset of I'm injured. You know, just like, I'm gonna do what I can. I'm gonna keep moving. I'm gonna take corrective measures to do that. I'm gonna be positive, because nothing, in my experience, nothing is worse than being super negative when you're injured about the injury. Like being pissed off because it happened. It happened. Now what? It happened. I'm getting a divorce. Now what? What are your options? Think about it. What are your options? And take some decisions to go there. Don't be pissed off and wallow in that negativity. It doesn't help anything. It just causes more inflammation. Okay? Consider this. When you do take action to go in a different direction, take action that is in your best interest. That sounds simple, but a lot of times people will go back to doing the same dumb shit that they were doing before. And I was one of them, and I try not to do the same dumb shit. I was in a seminar once, and the trainer said, you'll learn the lesson, or you'll learn the lesson. Meaning, life will keep slapping you in the head until you get it. So if you don't like the way things are going, if you're getting injured, if you're not happy with the situation or whatever, then get out of it. Make a decision. Have some balls. Do what's in your best interest that's going to make you happy. Look at your options and go. In other words, start building your own personal frame of reference of what makes you happy in your life. All right? And then reassess. How does that feel to you? Keep on going. Just keep on going. Keep on moving, man. Mrs. Newhart, 94 years old. She's keeping on. And I love that I have someone like that to talk to and talk to me about injuries. So if this has helped you, and I see people doing this all the time on YouTube, if this has helped you, please like, subscribe, follow, and leave a comment in the chat below. All right, it really helps. I'm new to this game, and I don't do any takes. This morning was the first time I actually made some notes because there were so many ways I could have gone with this. But yeah, injuries happen, and as human beings, we recover, we evolve, we adapt, we keep on moving. We're designed for movement, and it's a shame that nowadays we're growing up in a culture that people are so sedentary that they can't move. So let's get out there, let's move, let's be healthy. All right. Love you guys. Hope you have a great day, and I will talk to you soon. Aloha.